Then one day he was shooting at some food,
About 30 seconds.
and up from the ground came a bubbling crude.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with the outstanding producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 12 noon on this Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Overcast skies here in downtown Madison at the world headquarters of State Street, Mr. Zommers. Not a bad day at all. A little, it feels spring-like. It's warm, but not too warm.
It's nice. I think I'm going to take a nice little walk outside after the show.
That sounds like a fantastic idea. Perhaps some, not perhaps, but some precipitation moving in tomorrow into, or rather tonight into tomorrow, I believe, and looking at, a few inches of snow in kind of northeast Wisconsin, the Eau Claire area, La Crosse, roughly speaking, 2 to 4 inches there. And then down in southeast Wisconsin, just south of Madison, down towards Milwaukee area, maybe 2 to 4 inches of snow. Here in Madison, probably 2 inches or less. So just be aware of that. Then by Thursday, everything kind of warms back up to the 50s again, and it starts melting. So this time of year, we get these snows, and they don't last long because the temperatures warm up quickly, but it can wreak havoc on the roads. So just be aware of that later on tonight into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's commute may be a bit prickly in terms of trying to get into work on time. So either allow yourself some extra time, or if you have the luxury of working from home, you might want to consider that tomorrow as well. Big day. By the way, I hope everybody had a good St. Patrick's Day. I did not go out. In the words of Captain James T. Kirk, I went home. It's a great line from Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. And at the beginning of the movie, Spock, who had been promoted to captain of the Enterprise, and Kirk was admiral. And Kirk says, "Where are you off to?" And Spock says, "To the Enterprise, to make ready for your review. And you." And Kirk looks at him just with lonely puppy dog eyes and says, "Home." He just had nowhere to go. He's going home. Everybody else, he just went home. So last night I just went home and chilled out. It was a nice evening. Had a little leftover pizza and wine. Zommers, did you go out last night?
I did not. Well, yes, I did, kind of. So
he was out so long he forgot he went out.
No. I didn't go out to the bar for drinks. Oh. I did go out for dinner.
Oh, your sister's birthday was yesterday.
Yes. My older sister was in town for a doctor's appointment, coincidentally, also her birthday. So I got her some Irish dinner. We went to Monty's Blue Plate Diner.
Oh, nice.
I got some corned beef and cabbage and potatoes, all that good stuff.
Oh, great. Good. You had a very Irish dinner. Well, congratulations to everybody who celebrated the luck of the Irish. Our very own Sage Weil, CEO and owner of owner of Civic Media, he had a birthday yesterday. So happy birthday to Sage, and also a handful of other people. The company has grown, and this is a good thing. The company has grown, and people keep track of all these, and we get them in our group chat. Happy birthday. So now it's to the point where I don't recognize some people, but I still wish them a happy birthday. What I thought would be funny, do you think I should do this sometime? I thought it'd be funny to just pick a name. Like, I don't think there's pick a name. I think there's a Pamela.
Jerry.
Are there no Jerrys that work?
I don't think we have any Jerrys.
All right. So I think it'd be funny to, like, on the general chat one day to go, "Happy birthday, Jerry. Thanks for all you do for us. Have a great day." And then see how many people respond.
I think you should do it. And I hope that any of the other Civic Media folks listening don't spoil the fun.
Right. I just think that'd be an interesting experiment.
They should join in.
It reminds me of the Seinfeld episode where they make a cake for everybody's birthday, and then it just gets overwhelming because there's so many birthdays. But that's great. That's great. I mean, it's always fun to celebrate birthdays, and happy birthday to all those Irish folks that celebrated yesterday. Big show for you today. Coming up in hour number 2, have a little fun with What's Worse. Regular listeners of this program will know this is a pet peeve. It involves the cable company. Dun, dun, dun.
It sure does.
By the way, Tony Zimmerman. Oh, congratulations, by the way, to Tony Zimmerman and his lovely wife. They just became parents again. So
Yes, congrats.
congratulations to Tony and his family for welcoming a new little one into their family. And he is back on the YouTube here. He says, Civic Media is a friendly group. I bet Jerry would get lots of appreciation. I bet so.
Now, can we create an account for Jerry and have Jerry say thanks?
Right.
And then everyone's like, who the hell
Oh,
is
that's
Jerry?
a great idea. Get on that.
I'll
All
see
right.
what we can do.
All right. Todd, listening to Oshkosh and WISS, says, I always interpreted that line of Kirk's as calling the Enterprise home. No, actually, he was just depressed because everybody else was getting to go to the Enterprise and have fun. And Spock said, where are you off to? And he just goes, home. Because the next scene is followed up in his actual home, and Dr. McCoy comes to visit him with some Romulan ale and a pair of bifocals, antique bifocals.
Just what you need to get the party started.
Exactly. Kirk looks at the bifocals and says, and McCoy looks at him like, what are you giving me? And McCoy says, well, normally for patients like you, I prescribe Retinox 5. And Kirk says, I'm allergic to Retinox 5. And McCoy says, exactly. I can recite that movie almost verbatim.
I know. Yeah.
We should have Pete Schwab on one day, and Pete and I will just, is he a Trekkie or not?
I'm not sure. I think that'd be interesting if you just start the line and
Right. We'll see how far we can go reciting. Pete Schwab and Todd recite Star Trek II Wrath of Khan. I want the line that's Khan. All right, enough. I'm sorry. I got off on it. Well, it is Tuesday Tangents. Lukester is still traveling back. He was down in Arizona at the big Brewers spring training, and we are very appreciative of him calling in with a live report from spring training. Oh, wait, that didn't happen, did it?
it did not. No, the timing didn't line up.
All right. But I hear he'll be back tomorrow.
Yes.
So that'll be great. We'll welcome him in tomorrow. Lots of news to get to. We're going to have a quiz for you in just a little bit here on measles. How about that? Timely indeed.
Unfortunately.
Sadly, but true. Donald Trump talking to Vladimir Putin today, according to reports, about dividing up Ukraine. One problem, Ukraine's not involved. Usually, generally speaking, the country that was attacked gets to have some say in how it ends.
Details.
I know, but details. The Navajo Code Talkers. Have you heard of those, Zombers?
Sure have.
Absolutely. Navajo Code Talkers, a very, very important part of American history, helping out in war efforts over the years. And now the Trump administration is canceling them, getting rid of their long and illustrious history from military websites because they're considered DEI. So we'll talk about all that. Take your phone calls as well. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Oh, and we have to get to what we promoted. Another cut for broadband how it's going to affect Wisconsin. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. But I want to begin today with some breaking news this morning. I don't read a lot of the old Donald Trump social media posts because, he has his own so-called social media network where his minions follow called Truth Social. And so he put a post on Truth Social this morning. I want to read you the tweet in its entirety without editing it. And then I want to give you some breaking news out of the U.S. Supreme Court as a response to this, which I can't remember before when it's happened. And we talked about this yesterday with our friend Matt Flynn. If you missed it, I encourage you to go back and listen to the podcast of yesterday's show at civicmedia.us. Matt, fantastic as always. And we talked at length that over the weekend, Donald Trump put a bunch of migrants on a plane, many of whom were most likely gang members from Venezuela. But they did not have due process in court. And it's also very likely that there may be innocence in 3 plane loads of the accused. And again, I want to make clear, I'm not here to defend legit criminals. What I am here to defend is the rule of law. And in the United States of America, under the U.S. Constitution, which is the ultimate ruler of our country in terms of what's right and what's wrong, the Constitution guarantees everybody due process under the law. And that when a judge gives an order, you follow it, period. And if you don't agree with it, there's an appeals process that you go through. Well, over the weekend, Trump put a bunch of Venezuelan gang members alleged on a plane, 3 planes, actually. And in the meantime, there was a lawsuit filed to stop it. And the judge in the case said, no, you can't just send these people to, and they're going to El Salvador, which we'll get into here in a bit. I talked about it yesterday. Marco Rubio made a deal with the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, to house American prisoners, and to be clear, some of whom could be U.S. citizens, to house them in prisons in El Salvador, which are notoriously inhumane, essentially human dog kennels. And so the judge in this case said, wait, you didn't do this right, Trump administration. Todd's words, of course. I'm putting this down there where the chickens can get at it, including me. The judge essentially said, look, you didn't follow the law. You didn't follow the process to do this. Let's review this, make sure you did the process right, and maybe you can then go ahead and send these people to El Salvador, but you have to do it the right way. The Trump administration said, not doing it. Claimed that the planes were in the air. At least one of them didn't take off until after the judge's ruling. This morning, Donald Trump tweeted out, whatever it is on his Truth Social network. He said the following. This is Trump, quote, "This radical left lunatic of a judge, a troublemaker, an agitator, who was sadly appointed by Barack Hussein Obama, was not elected president. He didn't win the popular vote by a lot. He didn't win all 7 swing states. He didn't win 2,750 of the 525 counties. In all caps, he didn't win anything. I won for many reasons. In an overwhelming mandate by fighting illegal immigration have been the number one reason for this historic victory." Then to go on and says, "I'm just doing what the voters wanted me to do. This judge, like many of the crooked judges I am forced to appear before, should be impeached." We'll finish the rest of it. And what Chief Justice Roberts of the Supreme Court said in response. Don't go anywhere. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Tuesday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I did not see this morning.
Yeah. Now he's taking the courts on.
Our biggest sale of the year. Mismatch on the outside. The same
I'm interested to see.
Just Dave on YouTube. That's
Which is
pretty
Dave
funny.
in Berlin.
Yeah, very nice, Dave.
So hurry in now for additional savings on every mattress and box spring. Plus, get huge savings on adjustable bases. And the more you buy, the more you save on accessory bundles. It's our biggest sale of the year. Wake up. Sleep better. Furlough.
America is kept safe because the Army National Guard responds, protects, and supports our nation when it needs them most. From fighting wildfires with air support, helping civilians in flooded neighborhoods, to delivering food and supplies to those who have lost everything, the Army National Guard always responds when disaster strikes. The Army National Guard also trains to be ever vigilant against threats, foreign and domestic. They protect our skies with missile defense weaponry. They secure our information, communications, and infrastructure with cybersecurity. And they protect us against chemical, biological, and radiological hazards with the civilian support team. The Army National Guard also stands ready to deploy and provide support for conflicts or humanitarian missions abroad. Join the Army National Guard and be there to respond, protect, and support your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
As a federally licensed broadcast company, this civic media station is required by FCC regulations to accept advertising by all qualified candidates for federal office. We also accept
those
ads
watching
from
the
state
stream,
and local candidates. We do
stay tuned
screen
for hour
announcements
2.
from issue groups and PACs.
We're going to have a memorial service in hour 2.
We are.
Yes.
Oh boy. 10 seconds.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along with us. It's 21 past the hour of 12 noon. Talking about breaking news this morning, Donald Trump on his Truth Social, truthing out, tweeting out, whatever you want to call it, a long diatribe of which I read the most right before the break, attacking a federal judge who ruled over the weekend that Donald Trump did not follow constitutional law and due process, and therefore sending 3 plane loads of migrants that Trump deemed illegal and part of a Venezuelan gang. He had to turn the planes around. Not only did Trump not turn the 2 planes around that were in the air, he shipped off another one after the judge's ruling. Yesterday in court, many of the Department of Justice attorneys refused to answer the judge's questions, saying it was a matter of national security. There is another appearance set for Friday. This morning, Trump attacked the judge. I won't read the whole thing again. I'm going to pick up a line before where I left off and then finish it up. Trump saying in part, quote, "This judge, like many of the crooked judges I am forced to appear before, should be impeached. We don't want vicious, violent, and demented criminals, many of them deranged murderers, in our country. Make America great again," unquote. Donald Trump this morning on Truth Social, calling for the impeachment of a federal judge because he did not agree with the judge's ruling. About a half an hour, maybe 20 minutes before we went on the air here, just before noon, or at noon, breaking news further now, and this is something that I don't recall seeing. A statement from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts, who, of course, was appointed by former President George W. Bush. In an article on CNN just moments ago, it says Chief Justice John Roberts pushed back on President Donald Trump's escalating rhetoric against the federal judiciary this morning in a highly unusual statement that appeared to be aimed at the president's call to impeach judges who rule against him. The statement reads, and I quote, "For more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision," Roberts said in the statement. He went on to say, quote, "The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose," unquote. Roberts' statement did not mention Trump by name, but it came hours after the president stepped in with the attack on the federal judge by specifically calling for Judge James Boasberg, who has temporarily blocked the deportation of alleged Venezuelan gang members, to be impeached. Several Trump allies, including Elon Musk, have been calling for impeaching judges for weeks after a ruling against the Trump administration. This is, as I said, I'm going to use the word unprecedented just because I'm not aware of it happening before, where a sitting Chief Justice puts out a statement in direct response and against the sitting president of the United States. So remember, this comes just after The address to Congress and the nation, it's not called the State of the State in the first year, but that's essentially what it is. Where after the speech, Trump on his way out passed by Chief Justice Roberts and kind of slapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, thanks a lot. I won't forget that." You could pick the ruling, whatever one it was, that Roberts ruled in favor of Trump. But now even conservative Chief Justice John Roberts says this attacking a sitting federal judge and calling for his impeachment over a decision you do not like is a bridge too far. The CNN article goes on saying, quote, "The Chief Justice and other members of the Supreme Court have largely remained silent as Trump and his allies have ramped up their attacks on the judiciary amid a slew of preliminary rulings that haven't gone their way. Most of these cases are being appealed and will likely wind up through the 6-3 conservative Supreme Court in the coming months. Though Roberts and other justices have largely steered clear of Trump's unusually sharp criticism of federal judges, the statement today was similar to a rebuke that Chief Justice issued in 2018 when he responded to Trump's remarks by saying that, quote, "We do not have Obama judges or Trump judges, Bush judges, or Clinton judges," unquote. So I guess the last time it happened was 2018. And I don't even know if it was that. It stemmed from Trump in 2017, 2018, continually saying, well, that person's an Obama judge or that person's a Clinton judge. And the Chief Justice said, look, we don't have judges attached to a president. We just have judges, period. What do you think about this? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Ignoring the courts. Because as I've said for quite a while now, this is really the last thing I've been waiting for to call it on democracy. Like you watch a football game or a basketball game. 5 minutes left, 8 minutes left. One team is way ahead. You say, that's it. I'm calling it. It's over. I haven't called it quite yet on democracy, small d democracy in the United States yet. I'm waiting for the courts to truly fall. We're perilously close to that right now. Have we got time for the Bongino cut, or is that not? All right, we'll come back. Dan Bongino, conservative podcaster, talk show host, who is now the deputy director of the FBI. He has literally said that Donald Trump should ignore the courts. Don't believe me? Fine. Come on back. We have the receipts, as they say. Dan Bongino in his own words. And speaking of own words, we'll hear from the Trumpster who was on Air Force One coming back from a golf tournament, his own, which, surprise, surprise, he won again after video of it clearly showed he was cheating, by the way. Who wants to play with a golfer that cheats like that? Just ridiculous. Anyway, we'll come back, so we'll hear from Dan Bongino calling for Trump to ignore the courts and Donald Trump to ignore Ukraine. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for Tuesday. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network.
Madison's real news and great conversation, 92.7 WMDX. Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
Happy National Agriculture Day. I'm Stephanie Hoff along with you on a Tuesday. You're listening to the Midwest Farm Report. We put out a social media video today celebrating the industry and the farmers who make it all happen. You can find it at Midwest Farm Report on Facebook. Today we're focused on wheat for our market report, and here to help tell us why is market advisor John Heinberg from Total Farm Marketing. He says dry weather has been threatening the crop in the Central Plains.
Down in that hard red winter wheat belt, the Kansas wheat belt area, as this crop is starting to work itself out of dormancy, is the moisture there. They didn't pick up much moisture from that storm, as most of the energy in terms of precipitation was to the east of that area. So it's something we'll have to watch. On top of that, on the global side, we don't have a lot of wheat out there in terms of available wheat for importers to use. We're watching that Russian crop as well as the European crop. Dryness concerns are building there. So there could be a bit of a story here where we could kind of lead this market higher for a while. So we'll have to kind of watch that.
Market advisor John Heinberg from Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend with what he's watching in the marketplace today. We'll take a look at our midday commodity prices in just a minute.
In our world of agriculture, weather conditions rule our workday. The Midwest Farm Report and the National Weather Service are recruiting citizen scientists to help keep an eye on Mother Nature. You can help by taking real-time weather observations and alerting the National Weather Service about severe weather occurring where you are. Everyday people such as yourself play a vital role in protecting lives and property. To find out how you can become a citizen scientist, visit wisconsinweatherwatchers.org.
Looking to grow new ideas for your farm? Then visit the WPS Farm Show. For 63 years, farmers have been coming to the show for the latest in farm equipment, services, and technology to boost their business. Don't miss this year's show, filled with ideas to help you grow. Mark your calendar for April 1st through the 3rd at the EAA grounds in Oshkosh. For more information and a full list of exhibitors, visit wisconsinpublicservice.com.
Let's take a look at our markets midday on a Tuesday. From Chicago, corn is mixed. Cash corn down a penny and
Lincoln
a half
Project
at
and Resolute Square are now Lincoln
December
Square.
new crop corn is up 3/4 cent at 4.54 3/4. Soybeans and wheat are trading higher. Cash beans up a penny and 3/4 at 10.17 1/4. November new crop beans up a penny and a quarter at 10.19 3/4. And July new crop wheat is up 3 3/4 cents, trading at 5.88 3/4. Class 3 milk contracts are mixed, with the April contract up 2 cents at 17.18 a hundredweight. The May contract is down 3 cents at 17.27. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Stephanie Hoff. Happy National Agriculture Day.
This is your local civic media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
Mostly cloudy and mild today, with high temperatures reaching 60 degrees. However, we're still in a high fire danger, so the rain on the way is much needed. It'll move in early tomorrow morning, where we could see some thunderstorms. Winds will also become breezy, and the rain becomes all snow late at night. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now, it's 54.
Found an injured, sick, or orphaned wild animal? Dane County Humane Society's Wildlife
Or I guess
Center can
Resolute
help.
Square
Call
is now Lincoln Square. Lincoln Project is still Lincoln
608-287-3235
Project.
or visit
I think.
giveshelter.org/wildlife for what to do next.
The John and Gordy Show.
Good morning, Joe.
How you doing, guys? It's always good to note what kind of geopolitical nonsense is going on. Trump, of course, is asking the Danish Egg Association if they would ship some of their eggs to the U.S. because of the surging egg prices that we have. Trump.
Isn't that shocking? Is it what the balls to ask for something like that?
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the
30 seconds.
Civic Media app.
Out
Thank
here in
you.
the middle of these acres.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 minutes now past the hour of 12 noon, Tuesday, March 18th. Zommer's on the board. If you want to give us a call, he's waiting, standing by to say hello. He'll say it nicer than that. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Or you can text us on the Civic Media app talking about Donald Trump's post this morning on his Truth Social and he's calling for the impeachment of a federal judge who ruled over the weekend that Trump unconstitutionally, or at least without due process, expedited the removal of 3 plane loads of alleged Venezuelan gang members. And they got shipped off to El Salvador because now the U.S. has a deal with the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele. U.S. paid Bukele $6 million to take in these 3 plane loads of prisoners and to put them in essentially human dog kennels, which are the prisons in El Salvador. And again, I want to make clear, for me, this is not about defending the people on the plane per se. I assume that most of them are guilty of crimes. Most of them are guilty of being here without documentation. What I'm defending is the way in which it was done. Because if there's not due process, then we're all susceptible. And we talked about this yesterday, a story in the Journal Sentinel, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and USA Today, in which a guy from Wisconsin who had married a woman from Peru, living here in Wisconsin, he voted, the husband, for Trump. They went on their honeymoon to Puerto Rico, and when they came back, tried to get back in the United States, she was taken away. A Canadian out in California, here legally, trying to get her papers renewed, was put in chains and taken away to a detainment camp in Arizona. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Curtin Madison said, so the Supreme Court gives the petulant man-child a torch for his containers of gasoline, and now they are surprised about the fires. This judge, now under attack by Trump saying that he should be impeached, and Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts saying about an hour ago, made it very clear in his statement that is not the case. Basically admonishing Trump without naming him or the judge. This is not new for the Trump administration. Dan Bongino, who is now the deputy director of the FBI, on his podcast, The Dan Bongino Show, during the campaign last fall before he became the deputy director of the FBI, here's what he said Trump should do in regards to the courts.
So this is what they're doing. This is why Clarence Thomas has been speaking out about the national restraining orders. How a judge in New York can give a restraining order for a congressional district in Wyoming is ridiculous. Clarence Thomas has been warning about this forever. This A. Muse on Twitter is talking about this lawfare too. How this Obama-appointed judge threatened Trump and his team with arrest if they don't restore every dime of funding that had been paused or canceled. Folks, my recommendation is Donald Trump should ignore this. This judge is obviously not acting constitutionally at all. It should be ignored. Demand it resuming all, but you can't order the executive to spend. I mean, you've effectively usurped the power of the executive. Now, before I get to the next, I'm going to play your video.
It goes on from there. Dan Bongino,
These are the best.
who is now the deputy director. Oh.
Threatening with arrest. Who's going to arrest them? The marshals? You guys know who the U.S. Marshals work for? Department of Justice. That is under the, executive branch. Donald Trump's going to order his own arrest and his team. This is ridiculous.
Dan Bongino, now the deputy director of the FBI, that was on his podcast before he started working in the Trump administration, makes it very clear. Look, Trump, just ignore the judges, ignore the courts. Who's going to stop you? You control the people that might stop you. This was baked in before the election. And there were some people that said, Todd, why did you use words like authoritarian, dictator, fascist? You're going over the top. You're being extremist. The courts will stop him. I said, I'm afraid not. It's not about me being right. It's about just being a student of history. And here we are. On the precipice of losing democracy, small d democracy in America. 855-752-4842. Let's go out to Los Angeles, California. LA Tom, thanks for calling. How are you?
Yeah, Todd, I think what you need to do on your show is you need to yell more like that Bongino did. 'Cause apparently when you yell more, then people must believe you more, and they must believe more on the partisan side. There's something about the Republican side where when you scream it, they believe it, I guess. But what I wanted to say is...
I slightly disagree with that, but that's another story, but go ahead.
No, I'm saying that in jest a little bit, but in some ways there are certain people I think that respond to that. So what I want to say though is that I hope Justice Roberts was not a person that went ahead and said it was okay for the president to shoot anybody or take SEAL Team 6 and take them out, because they did not just hold the Supreme Court in a place where they were not the ones that were going to be cleared of that. I mean, they themselves could be at the end of a gun by a SEAL Team 6 member.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
I see exactly. No, go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
Well, I see exactly what you're saying, and it's interesting because I'm gonna shift over, unless you have something else, because I want to shift over and talk about this taking over of the courts and where it's been done before, why it's important. But go ahead if you have something else.
Yeah, no, like I said, I wanted to say that, they asked, is it okay for a sitting president to go and assassinate a political enemy or anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
And the Supreme Court never asked the question, is it okay for a president to actually shoot a Supreme Court member?
Right.
And they pretty much gave him full immunity to do whatever the hell he wants to do. So I hope that does not come back to haunt them.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Todd.
I appreciate it. And to make clear, we're not calling for political violence, any violence of any kind, period. But Tom brings up a good point. And that is the Supreme Court, the sitting Supreme Court we have now, did rule that Trump was immune from prosecution of anything he does while president if he could justify it as a presidential act. Well, here you have now the sitting deputy director of the FBI saying that Donald Trump as president should ignore the courts. You have Trump using words like agitator against the courts, insinuating that they are in fact part of the problem. I want to read you something from Time magazine. There's a publication we don't mention enough or that much anymore. I used to get Time magazine in print. This is from September of last year, talking about President of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele. I want to read you this paragraph. Listen carefully, please. Quote, Bukele's popularity has come in spite, or perhaps because of his defiance of constitutional, political, and legal constraints. Since 2022, he has ruled under emergency powers that suspend key civil liberties, including due process. His security regime can make arrests without warrants, including of minors as young as 12, and hauls hundreds of suspects into mass trials. One in every 57 Salvadorans is now incarcerated, triple the rate of the United States and the highest in the world. Bukele's allies have fired top judges and packed the courts with loyalists, allowing him to dodge a constitutional prohibition to run successfully for a second term, all with broad public support. Organized political opposition has, in Bukele's words, been pulverized. Defense attorneys, journalists, and NGOs say the government has intimidated, surveilled, or attacked them, spurring many to flee. Quote, El Salvador's institutions have been totally co-opted, subdued, and made obedient to the presidency, unquote, says Celia Mondareno, a Salvadoran human rights activist. This is the template, you understand. This is a guy like Trump. He names people like, Xi of China, North Korean dictator, Turkish president. These people, these oligarchs, these people that he says, geez, they have so much authority. They just the people just line up and do it. Isn't this great? What Bukele in El Salvador has done differently than Trump, which has made him so popular, is because despite all those things I just listed, which goes against the Salvadoran Constitution, crime is dramatically down. And he's taken much of the money and invested it in infrastructure, making everyday Salvadorans' lives better. Unlike former presidents of El Salvador on both the left and the right that took money from the coffers themselves, so far it appears Bukele has not done that. What he has done is made a deal with the Chinese, who built a huge, beautiful new national library. The Chinese are building a huge national Salvadoran soccer stadium. But the Chinese don't go around the world just doing things because it's nice. They do it because it's good for the Chinese. That new national library in El Salvador, I've seen it's beautiful. But my guess is it has more bugs in it than a hound dog underneath a porch on a summer day. I mean, talk about surveillance. And this is what Trump wants. He wants to be liked and popular and get his own way, just like Bukele. And that's why what happened over the weekend matters. It's not about just 3 planefuls of alleged gang members. It's about Trump thumbing his nose, the political middle finger, whatever metaphor you want to say, to the courts. And if the court judicial system in this country truly fails, then our democracy is over, as we've known it. Chuck Schumer was on CBS this morning saying exactly the same thing. The problem is the Democratic Party right now, it's a hot mess. Divided amongst the progressive left, the mainstream folks. It's a hot mess right now, the Democratic Party. I'm not here saying the Republican Party is any better. They're worse. But the thing is, they're united, at least to some degree, around this dictator figure of Trump.
Even if what united them is fear of death or their families.
Right. But hey, they're united. 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly to the phone lines. Jack and Merrimack. Jack, about a minute left. What say you?
Well, very quickly, all these rich people that are supporting Trump and want their multi-trillion-dollar tax giveaways, they better wake up. There were a lot of industrialists and rich people that supported Hitler in Germany in the 1930s, and a lot of those people, as soon as they became inconvenient or didn't toe the line perfectly, they ended up in prison camps or executed.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court has essentially given Trump carte blanche. They said, "Yep, you're not responsible. You're not. There are no consequences for unlawful acts."
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate the call. Come on back. Take more calls on this. We'll give you a little quiz on the measles as well. 855-752-4842. It's a Tuesday. It's the Allbaugh Show along with Zombers. And this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
News and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
The John and Gordy Show.
Good morning, Joe.
How you doing, guys? It's always good to note what kind of geopolitical nonsense is going on. Trump, of course, is asking the Danish Egg Association if they would ship some of their eggs to the U.S. because of the surging egg prices that we have. Trump,
Isn't that shocking? What the balls to ask for something like that?
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app. The Maggie Dawn Show.
Former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, he would not be negotiating with the GOP if he was Wisconsin's sitting senator.
I want to clarify, I'm always happy to negotiate in good faith, but we're talking about a party that's not acting in good faith. We shouldn't be in a position where we're throwing a life raft.
There's folk songs about diseases. You just say that because you think everybody's going to take it for a fact. Well, prove it. Tell me a song. What disease is there a song about? Come on, boom, boom, right now.
What about the measles song?
The measles song. What kind of measles song?
It's called the German measles song.
Is it a polka or something?
The German measles song. You heard the German measles song?
I've heard of the German measles, but I haven't heard of a German measles song. Why don't you sing it?
Have you heard of the German measles song?
No.
Oh, maybe there isn't one.
Is that the Smothers Brothers?
It sure is. I knew you would recognize it.
Yeah.
So
That's fantastic. There is no German measles song that I'm aware of. Tommy was right. But there are measles, and we'll give you a little measles quiz here in a minute. Right now, talking about this breaking news this morning. Donald Trump attacking the sitting federal judge, calling for his impeachment after he ruled against Trump over the weekend. The judge did on this exporting of alleged criminals, immigrants out of the U.S. to El Salvador. And now the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, has put out a statement rebuking that. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Let's go to Mark in Prairie du Sac. Mark, always a pleasure. What say you?
Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to be before some of these Republicans are going to have to start having tasters before they eat a meal, because that's how. In when the Roman Republic fell, I mean, and even prior to that, I mean, that's how people got rid of their enemies. I mean, it just is. These guys are making our lives unsafe, and why should they feel comfortable? And I'm not saying I'm asking for this to happen. I don't want to see it happen, but how long before people just take action like that, and that because they're going to feel powerless no matter what? I mean, they want to have violence, and that if one of these Republicans happen to die of cramps in the night, that as what was it, Tiberius's brother, I guess, died. You know that. Somebody was removing him to get Tiberius in power, and nobody could really prove that it was a poisoning, but that they certainly don't believe in science anymore for Republicans. I mean or they don't want to believe in it because Trump doesn't believe in science, and that's what Stalin did as well. I mean, if science doesn't match up with Trump thought these days, it's going to be like in the days of Stalin, that science is going to match up with political thought, and that is certainly dangerous. And
yep. Well, hang in there, Mark. I appreciate the call. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. First of all, I want to do one more call. Karina in Milwaukee on WAUK. Karina, thanks for calling in. What say you?
Well, you know what? It's a crazy situation. I know it's hard. It's got to be hard to figure it out. But the fact is, I waited for 4 years to get to this country. I came in as an asylum from Russia. I did everything right. And people who don't, stay here illegally, which a law doesn't go over them. I mean, it doesn't distribute to people who's here on a tourist visa or illegally or any other way but legally here to as a permanent resident. So that question is very clear for me. Now, the other side, what you were saying, that completely unsuspected people getting caught in that, and how that there is not a concrete direction of verifying where you have a female who's here, married and legal, and why is it that you detaining her, like you gave an example, or people coming in to extend their visa. Now, I just went to Russia, right? And my passport will expire in 6 months. And I know that I cannot cross the border if my passport is expired less than 6 months.
Right.
It's going to be a problem. I wouldn't do it.
Right.
So people also stretch that time saying, well, it's still okay. I did it last time, but you have to be protective of yourself and reasonable to yourself to say, okay, those are things they telling me not to do it. Why am I doing it?
No, I appreciate
and I
Go ahead.
Yes, and I absolutely agree with you that it has to be some sort of measures where people are legally here shouldn't be caught in this nightmare. But the people who are coming here illegally, not only illegally but also criminal from another country.
Sure.
Look, when we were coming here and still coming here, and somebody coming from Russia, they pulling their criminal record.
Right.
And if they have criminal record, they will deny visa.
Right. I appreciate the call, Karina. I as my former boss used to say, I think we're in the heat of agreement. Look, if I'm for the law, period, right? I'm for the Constitution, I'm for the rule of law. Within that window, though, there's a way that you apply the rule of law. And I know this from my time working on immigration cases in Congress, that even people who come here undocumented or come here legally and end up undocumented, everyone's entitled to due process under the Constitution. And that's what disturbs me about what happened over the weekend, is that it appears that due process was not followed. And instead of, like most presidents before him, Trump saying, oh, this really sucks. I'm angry about this, but fine, we'll go to court, we'll prove our case, we'll win and move on. He just decided to ignore the courts. And that's where it becomes extraordinarily dangerous. That's where we start easing into the realm of third world country, like what's happening in El Salvador, where Nayib Bukele just said, I want to get things done. I'm going to suspend civil liberties. I'm going to suspend habeas corpus. I'm going to suspend people's rights. And that is where we are headed to if people don't speak up. How can we stop this in a way? I'll tell you on the other side. It starts with V and it ends with E. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7 WMDX. John Peterson and Gordy Young.
Subscribe to Vogue magazine.
Substack blogger Mike McCabe will join us on 3D
Or
Day.
Vague.
That's right. We'll do the show in 3 dimensions.
Just sit on the couch.
The John and Gordy Show, weekday mornings 6 till 8.
All right.
March is tournament time, and the Lazy Oaf Lounge has your courtside seats. Enjoy the big games on the big screens at the Lazy Oaf Lounge. Score big with half-price wings during the tournament games when you dine in. Plus drink specials of Busch Light, Miller, and Bud products. And make a slam dunk with $2 off pitchers during the game. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road in Madison. Follow the Lazy Oaf Lounge on the socials and online at lazyoaflounge.com.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us. This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Chief Justice John Roberts pushing back against President Trump's calls for a federal judge to be impeached after halting deportation flights under the Alien Enemies Act. Roberts says impeachment is inappropriate. Meantime, the Justice Department continuing to stonewall the federal judge.
In a written response to Judge James Boasberg, the Justice Department says the administration should not be required to answer his questions, such as how many more alleged gang members might be subject to removal under the Alien Enemies Act. The government calls that sensitive information, bearing on national security and foreign relations. The government's filing says if the judge does order the Justice Department to provide the information, he should only receive it privately in his chambers.
The White House has not released details of the call between President Trump and Russia's leader. The U.S. working to finalize a ceasefire deal between Russia and Ukraine. The Kremlin calling it a frank discussion. Another round of severe storms, including blizzard alerts, issued from Nevada to the Midwest. This is ABC News.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Early voting begins today in Madison. We've got more than 40 spots across the city where you can cast your ballot early. Often there are no lines, and you do not have to go to a specific location. It's not like Election Day where you can only vote at your precinct's polling place. If you live in the city of Madison, you can vote early at any of these locations. Plus, drop boxes are now open, so if you got an absentee ballot in the mail, you can now put it in those drop boxes, and pairs of sworn election officials are emptying them every day. Madison's election operations are currently being overseen by City Attorney Michael Haas, widely regarded as one of the most experienced election experts in Wisconsin. And yesterday, police had to evacuate the Walmart in Sun Prairie because of a bomb threat. It happened at about 4:30 in the afternoon. An employee found a note with this bomb threat on it, and they called police right away. Authorities got everybody out of the store, and they did a thorough search, but they didn't find anything suspicious. The store reopened about 2 hours later. Now, police are searching for a suspect. And remember that man who set a Wisconsin congressman's office on fire during the few hours TikTok was inactive in the U.S.? Now his attorneys say he's not responsible because of mental health issues. Lisa Hale has more.
A psychiatric evaluation has been ordered for 19-year-old Caden Stakowitz of Menasha after he pleaded not guilty because of mental disease or defect Monday on charges that he set fire to U.S. Representative Glenn Grothman's Fond du Lac office in January. If Stakowitz goes to trial with the not guilty because of mental disease plea, the jury would first determine if he's guilty. And then if he is, a second phase of the trial would determine if he suffers from mental disease. Stakowitz's next appearance in court will be a status conference May 12th.
That's Lisa Hale, and I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is 92.7 WMDX News.
A setback for the Bucks. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. NBA, the Bucks backup center, Jericho Sims, will be out for at least a month. Sims had surgery yesterday in New York after suffering torn ligaments in his right thumb. It happened early Saturday night against the Pacers. Sims, after the game, his right hand all taped up.
Happened the first few seconds I was in. I got caught on another player when I was cutting him off. Physical is just boxing out. I mean, that's something that we usually are good at, but, it's certain teams we tend to struggle with.
The Bucks open a 5-game road trip tonight against Golden State. March Madness, the Wisconsin Badgers head to Denver for their game Thursday afternoon against Montana. Marquette will face New Mexico in Cleveland on Friday night. Baseball, the Brewers losing to the Padres 14-8 out in Arizona. Infielder Bryce Terang sitting out with a sore shoulder. For now, it looks like Joey Ortiz will start at shortstop on opening day. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Mostly cloudy and mild today, with high temperatures reaching 60 degrees. However, we're still in a high fire danger, so the rain on the way is much needed. It'll move in early tomorrow morning, where we could see some thunderstorms. Winds will also become breezy, and the rain becomes all snow late at night. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now, it's 55 degrees.
The Dom Salvia
Yes,
Show.
Tom, you're right. It is
so
hot.
arrogant that he is even
And they're going to Denver where the
intervening
air
right
is
here
thinner.
in the state of Wisconsin.
Not easy at all.
Republican Rep Brian Stile said in a statement that Sanders was on a fear-mongering tour. Maybe you should be afraid when billionaires can buy the presidency, when billionaires can buy elections. I think that's a little scary, and I think so. We,
Just
the
Dave,
people,
no,
should
you're
do
incorrect.
something about it.
I do
The
not know.
Dom
what I'm doing.
Salvia Show. Weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app.
LA Tom, you're right.
The John and Gordy
Russia
Show.
does not want
Good
peace.
morning, Joe.
How you doing, guys? It's always good to note what kind of
Very true.
geopolitical nonsense is going on. Trump, of course, is asking the Danish Egg Association if they would ship some of their eggs to the U.S. because of the surging egg prices that we have. Trump,
Isn't that shocking? Is
Yes.
it? What the balls to ask for something like that?
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and
20
the
seconds.
Civic Media
All right.
app.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with the outstanding producer, Mr. Aaron Zummers, on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome to hour number 2 of the big program. Appreciate you being here on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Beautiful weather, spring weather, a little overcast, sun poking through in downtown Madison, the world headquarters here. Zommers, great day to be alive.
Sure is. I did think it was Wednesday this morning for some
Did
reason.
you really?
Though. I did. I don't know why, but I was like, great, we're going to see Pat and Trigby today. And then I came into the office and I'm like, no, we're not.
That
It
is tomorrow.
Not Wednesday.
That is tomorrow. Pat Kreitlow of North News Radio and Trigby Olson, Senior Advisor at the Lincoln Project, will be here. And who knows what else. Working on a couple of things for this week involving movies. So, yeah, there's a little tease for you. I want lots to get to, including what's worse today. A cable phone company dispute edition. More news stories, of course. But I want to start off this hour. I'm dressed mostly in black today for a reason. For those watching on the stream, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. It is time for a memorial service in remembrance. After 37 long and glorious years together, I am sad to announce the passing of my CBS mug. Yes, it happened after the show yesterday. All right, we can bring that down. It happened after the show yesterday. I got this mug at the CBS store in Manhattan. And as a senior in high school, my friend Carrie Anderson and I went out to see Garrison Keillor at Radio City Music Hall. And I was working for CBS affiliate WRCO in Richland Center at the time, now part of Civic Media. And I got this mug. And I used it partner every day. I worked at WRCO. I took it to college at WSUP, back to RCO. It's moved countless numbers of times. It's been packed away, kept safe. It came with me here to Civic Media when I came back to radio, and it's been with me but yesterday it was sitting here on the counter, and I had my hands full of stuff. There was stuff on the counter next to the mug, and I was talking to Zombers, and I picked up my stuff and swung around, and I knocked the cup off onto the carpeting where it met its untimely demise.
Yes, it shattered. It was very tragic. And
good.
it just the shock on Todd's face, and immediately, just a couple seconds of stunned silence, and then that is bad luck.
I know. We both said at the same time, this is bad luck. We don't know what's going to happen, but that was bad luck. So, yeah, I took a moment to mourn, and then I got on eBay, and I believe now I have found a replacement cup, courtesy of eBay. What was it, Zombers? $35, $36?
Something like that.
Something like that. So I've ordered it. So when it comes, I will have a ceremonious unpacking here on the show for the replacement of our CBS, longtime CBS mug of 37 years. But so today I'm using my not so old CBS This Morning mug from the Charlie Rose, Nora O'Donnell, Gail King days, which, it's a fine mug. Dave says, my condolences and deepest sympathies, Todd. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. Thank you. My sister watching down in Texas with the matriarch of the Holly family, Lisa. They're down there, and she says, oh, no, I'm so sorry. Look, it's a joke, everybody. Tom and Ellie Tom says, if that's not a sign of things to come, I don't know what is, right? It was funny that was Zombers. Both of our immediate reactions, like, "Oh my God, that's bad luck."
Yeah, it's.
I didn't even have any salt to throw over my shoulder or anything.
Oh, I should have given you some. I always have salt with me.
It's like my grandma Allbaugh. We'd say, "Grandma, you're not super." She was a good Christian woman, and I said, "You're not superstitious, are you?" When she'd pick up salt and throw over her shoulder, and she'd say, "Well, no, but it don't hurt any."
Fair enough.
Brian in Milwaukee says, sorry for your loss. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're just, obviously, it's a little joke here. It's just a cup. It's a material thing. But it's one of those things. You ever have something like that, Zombers, where you've had it a long time like that? Just, your life doesn't revolve around it, but it's just something that's consistent with you.
I mean, like a lot of kids have a stuffed animal like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's in a box now, but yeah, I've got Rumple Bear.
Rumple Bear.
Also, I had a mug that I got. I was a junior groomsman in my uncle's wedding.
Oh, nice.
So little, I don't know, 7-year-old in a tux standing up there with the groomsman. It was fun. And I got a mug. It was a really huge glass mug that was transparent, and it was kind of like had the patterns of a grenade, but inverted, where it's got like the bumps, but it was the ridges that were pronounced, not the bumps. I loved that mug. I used it a lot. Brought it to college. I was washing it in the sink in the bathroom one day and dropped it less than a centimeter onto the, just a little bump on the drain stopper for the sink, and it shattered entirely. And I was like, wow, that is unfortunate.
If you hit glass the right way, it's all over. Oh, well. Who else here says, one listener at WMDX, bummer. One time someone I worked with accidentally broke my favorite coffee mug. Sad day. Yeah, such is life. All right, much more important things to talk to you. Thanks for humoring me there. 855-752-4842. Before what's worse, I want to do this little quiz for you. You've probably heard about measles, outbreaks happening in Texas and elsewhere around the country. Outbreaks happening when not enough people get vaccinated. The measles virus is super contagious, and vaccination rates of 95% is what it takes to prevent the disease from taking hold in a school or other community. But with declining vaccination rates, the U.S. overall has fallen below 95% to a 92.7% vaccination rate for measles. It's most common for kids to be vaccinated for measles when they're first enrolling in school. Now, here's your multiple choice quiz for today. The question is about Wisconsin's measles vaccination rate for school kids. Well, this is great because I don't know this. So we will see what they're. So here's the quiz for you. Wisconsin is A, at no risk for measles because our kids have the second highest vaccination rate in the country. B, safe for now because the vaccination rates for our kids is just above the 95% rate. C, at a slight risk because measles vaccinations are below 95% in some communities, or D, at high risk for measles because Wisconsin's vaccination rate is 49th of the 50 states. Would you like to any tries of that, Zalmers?
I was screening phone calls and did not hear all the answers, unfortunately.
That's fine.
One person texts in D.
D. All right, somebody listening, D. Yeah, we'll just get right to it. Unfortunately, the answer is D. Children in Wisconsin have the second to worst vaccination rate for measles.
Wow.
Only Alaska is worse. That's according to Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
That is abysmal.
Wisconsin's rate is 84.8%, well below the 95% rate needed to prevent an outbreak. Many of us are vulnerable to an outbreak of measles. Measles is preventable by vaccinations, but only if we achieve herd immunity, when enough of the population either vaccinated against or is immune because they once had the disease. When you get vaccinated, you helped protect infants who can't get the vaccination until they are 12 months old, and the few people who are unable to get a vaccination for health reasons. Wisconsin wisely requires children enrolling in public or private school to show proof they have the required immunization. The problem is lawmakers have made it too easy for parents to exempt their kids from vaccinations. And that's why this is happening. In Vernon and Clark counties, less than half of children, kindergarten-age children, have both recommended measles shots. Say that again. In Vernon and Clark counties in Wisconsin, less than half of kindergarten-age children have both the recommended measles shots. If you're unsure about your own vaccination status, you can get a test that measures the level of antibodies against the disease in your blood. Little factoid, not what I wanted to pass along, but important. The bottom line, folks, get vaccinated. Get your kids vaccinated. And no, science has proven vaccinations do not cause autism. Period. I've heard Dr. Lyerly talk about this several times on this network.
One thing that I always think of is even if they did, which science has proven beyond a doubt, they do not cause autism. Even if vaccines cause autism, would you rather your child have autism or be dead and also spread a disease that kills a bunch of other kids? Come on. Am I wrong, though?
I don't know. I didn't look at it that way. I mean, I don't think that's a great choice, quite frankly.
It's not, but it's an easy one.
I think the important takeaway is that vaccines don't cause
autism.
Yes,
that is the important thing. They do not cause autism.
Is there any St. Patrick's Day beer left anywhere?
Probably somewhere.
John and Boaz, 855-752-4842. John and Boaz, thanks for calling in. What say you?
Yeah, I would like to bring up our president and his Alzheimer's disease, which is apparent because of his irrational behavior.
I know people that have Alzheimer's and dementia, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not here to diagnose. I don't think that we have clear evidence that he has that specific disease. I think certainly there's something wrong with the guy. He has a lot of other mental health issues, I'm sure. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I clearly the guy is affected by something. But I'm not a Dr. John, but I always appreciate you listening. And, John comes to us from the land of the mastodon out there in beautiful Boaz in southwest Wisconsin. Come on back. We will take more of your calls. Whistler and our very own Jane Matnair is on the line. 855-752-4842. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show. The day after drinking on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I didn't drink that much.
Conversation Station 92.7.
I don't know. I guess that's just something that I've said to a lot of people.
That just threw me off. I'm like,
Fair enough.
Even if your kid does
I guess that's one way I've thought about it when parents be all up in arms like, oh, I can't let my kid have autism. You're like, oh, so you'd rather they get the measles and infect.
But I don't think anybody wants their kids to have that either.
They don't, but it's like, I don't know. To me, it's a clear choice. If you would have your child or not have your child, you'd want to have them.
I thought your shirt also said magic coin like Bitcoin.
No. I'm not endorsing any cryptocurrencies.
In one instance, Van Orden took to social media to berate a veteran who had been fired from his job at the VA by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. And the veteran in question is simply someone who was just reaching out to his congressman looking for answers. Van Orden's office is
Whistler's sentimental object is a pretty cool
All right,
story.
very good, fantastic.
Especially wild accusations about people who have been attending these public events. Congressman Van Orden needs to stop this unhinged madness and, more importantly, be more available and accountable to his constituents.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulation Area and on our website at civicmedia.us.
If you love animals and want to help in Dane County, shop, donate, or volunteer at one of Dane County Humane Society's thrift stores. They sell gently used and new clothes, home goods, toys, furniture, and more. All proceeds support the comfort and care of animals in need. Dane County Humane Society thrift stores. Shop Thrift Store West on Watts Road and Thrift Store East on High Crossing Boulevard. Visit giveshelter.org/ wherever it may lead, and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 21 past the hour of 1 o'clock on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Took a little measles quiz. As Johnny Carson used to say, I did not know that. According to the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, Wisconsin ranks second worst in the nation, only above Alaska, when it comes to vaccination rates for measles. Get your kids immunized. That's what I say. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. I only say it about 100 times a day. Time now to go to our friend and colleague. She has the fantastic Matinee on Air show every morning between 10 and noon, preceding us, along with Greg Bach. Jane, as the song says, what does Jane say?
Hello, my friend.
How are you, Jane?
Just heading home. I am good. How about yourself?
Well, now that you're on the line with me, better. You know, it's always fun to talk.
Well, that's always good to talk to you as well. I was just thinking, Todd, when you were talking about the measles vaccine, and no, measles vaccine does not cause autism, but it also reminded me, because it's 5 years ago today that the World Health Organization declared COVID a global pandemic. And it reminded me that vaccines also do not make you magnetic. I was promised if I got, if I got the COVID-19 vaccine, I would become magnetic. That has still not happened. I'm not happy about that. I don't know what advantage it would give me were I magnetic, but I was told I would be magnetic, and I am still waiting.
That's a great point. That's a great point. You know, I thought maybe I'd have a more magnetic personality, but no, that didn't happen either. And by the way, you guys did a great job this morning. In all seriousness, you know, helping us not to forget this, what happened 5 years ago, and basically the world shut down. And I thought it was so well done. You know, reading these heartfelt texts and calls from people, healthcare workers that were there. And that one nurse that you read that she just started and saw death all around her. And I thought, yeah, you know, we forget this, right? And we forget how the former and now current administration dealt with this. And it ain't good.
No, and I really believe, Todd, that we have kind of a collective amnesia about those years of the lockdown. It was traumatizing in lots of different ways. And again, nobody wants to think about that stuff. But that's why I thought it was important, at least this morning, and I called it going down COVID memory lane, because we forget. We forget what happened. We forget what was said. We forget the ridiculous things that some people in that administration were suggesting that we could do in order to protect ourselves. I was working for a different radio station at the time in the news department. I did more stories trying to get people not to injure themselves by taking poison or bleach or horse dewormers and things like that, because that was some of the stuff that was coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and also, by the way, for the people who promised me I was going to become magnetic, I was also told that anyone who got the COVID-19 vaccine was going to be dead within 3 years.
Right.
Bad news for you. I'm still here.
No, good news for us. Good news for us, Jane. And I also think as well, in addition to everything you just said, we also forget about all the heroes that emerged during that time. All the people that did save lives, the people who put their own lives at risk, who lived in their garages for weeks, if not months, to protect their own families so they could go help the rest of us.
And how quickly we turned on those people that we were originally applauding when they would finish their shifts and dealing with freezers full of bodies because there wasn't anywhere to put them all. Even grocery store workers who were considered essential. There were all kinds of folks like that. And then it seemed like within a year, now everyone in the healthcare became the enemy. I don't understand where that flip came.
Yeah. Well, I had an aunt that was a nurse for a number of years at St. Mary's Hospital here in Madison in the OBGYN ward. And all those folks are heroes to me because they do the jobs that most of us don't want to or can't. And they're there for us in our most vulnerable time. And God bless them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Jane, I appreciate you. I know you've had Dr. Wiley on your show before, and you guys have talked about this. And I think, regardless of how people vote at the ballot box, I think the important thing is trust the science, get your kids immunized, and all of us should have our vaccinations up to date, because not only does it help us, it helps others as well. It's what a small thing that we can do.
It's about all of us. It's about protecting all of us. And if you're going to get your information from anywhere, don't get it from your Facebook friend's cousin's dog walker. Okay?
Really?
That's all I ask.
All right, very good.
That's all I ask.
Well, we'll adhere to that, Jane. All right. Well, we appreciate you calling in, my friend, and it's always great to hear from you.
Take care, my friend.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye. The wonderful and talented Jane Matnair of the Matnair On Air program every morning from 10 until noon. Sorry, I forgot the schedule for a minute. All right, we have lots of calls to get to. Stay on the line. Do not hang up, as Matt Flynn likes to say. We'll take you in order that they are received. Let's go to Dick in Madison and WMDX. You want to talk about Trump and Putin quickly?
Oh, real quickly, the way he's playing this whole thing, I mean, Putin looks at him much, I think, I'm going to paraphrase Groucho Marx. If he looks like an idiot and he acts like an idiot, don't let him tell you he's not an idiot, because he's an idiot. And that's exactly how he's acting with all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is completely out of control. And, I mean, he's sold out. They're going to divvy up this country to criminals.
Yeah.
And they're going to give them no security going forward.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Dick. Agree with you. 855-752-4842. Can we get one more person quickly? Ollie in the Northwoods, less than a minute left. Ollie, I'm up against the clock. If you can make it quick, please.
Well, I just wanted to, I'm hoping Jane's still listening, because I wanted to say that I'm sorry she's not magnetic, but at least she can, I heard the other day on TV or on the radio that the doctor there said that she's golden. So she may not be magnetic, but she's golden because she got her because she did get her measles shot and she had measles. So now she's golden.
Great call, Ollie. I'm sure Jane's still listening. Well, Jane is always golden. She is rock solid broadcasting gold. Thank you very much, Ollie. Thank you, Jane. Come on back. Stay on the line if you're there. We'll take your calls when we come back. Right now, a news, sports, and weather update. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show. What's Worse is next on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You see the message I sent before?
I know. Okay.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. All this strong wind is contributing to wildfires across Wisconsin. We've had about 70 of them just over the last week. About 1,000 acres have burned so far. Today, Dane County sits at high fire danger, but some counties just a little farther north are at very high risk. In fact, the biggest wildfire is in Green Lake County. Meteorologist Brittany Merlot has more.
In the town of Seneca, the Big Island Fire has burned an estimated 745 acres. Crews were dispatched to the White River Marsh State Wildlife Area right around 4:30 in the afternoon. This is exactly when the winds were gusting up to 40 miles per hour, helping spread the fire, which is currently being held on the south side of County Road D. 2 residents have been evacuated, with 6 structures threatened. The Wisconsin DNR also says that there have been no injuries and that the fire is under investigation. No DNR or private approved prescribed burn was in the area at the start of the fire.
And just be aware that we're expecting rain and snow tomorrow. It starts in the afternoon. We could have thunder and lightning, even some hail. And near the Wisconsin-Illinois border, tornadoes are possible. Then into the evening, that rain may turn into snow. Here in Dane County, we might get 1 to 3 inches of snow by Thursday morning. Up toward Baraboo, they could get up to 6 inches. And the Trump administration has launched another investigation into UW-Madison over DEI initiatives. The president's Department of Education is looking into 45 universities across the country that participate in the PhD Project. Now, the PhD Project is a nonprofit program that works to recruit more people of color into doctorate programs. It limits eligibility based on race and ethnicity. It's at least the 3rd investigation into or warning given to UW-Madison under the new Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. You're listening to 92.7 WMDX News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Despite some well-reviewed films, it was a pretty lackluster weekend at the box office. The weekend proved to be the lowest-grossing theater totals of the year so far, with prognosticators surprised that a spring break weekend at the box office came in even lower than Super Bowl weekend by about $1 million. Novocaine led the way with a little more than $8 million at the gate.
Everyone was busy
The film
spring
stars
break
Jack
weekend,
Quaid
I'm sure.
as a man who does not feel pain while trying to rescue his kidnapped girlfriend. Last week's champ, Mickey 17, finished in second place with $7.5 million and $33 million for the 2-week total. Steven Soderbergh's new spy thriller, Black Bag, finished with $7.5 million, but on about 1,100 less screens than Mickey 17. Rounding out the top 5 are Captain America, Brave New World, which pulled in over $5 million, and The Day the Earth Blew Up, the first Looney Tunes movie ever made for a theatrical release, with a disappointing
Timmer
just
tweeted
over
earlier,
$3 million.
Trump is to
For more
Putin
showbiz
what
fun,
Lindsey
tune
Graham
in to
is to
Nightlight
Trump.
with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
Mostly cloudy and mild today, with high temperatures reaching 60 degrees. However, we're still in a high fire danger, so the rain on the way is much needed. It'll move in early tomorrow morning, where we could see some thunderstorms. Winds will also become breezy, and the rain becomes all snow late at night. I'm meteorologist
this
Brittany
one
Merlot.
is the next
Right
call
now,
if you're
it's
taking it.
55 degrees.
All right, thanks.
Reviewing the week's legal news with a friend of the court.
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday morning. I haven't missed one. Outstanding, just like being in school.
It has been a week in the areas of law and government and the aspiration for justice in America. As always, I am delighted. I am honored that you have chosen to spend some of your weekend time with me in discussion.
Amicus, a law review with Jim Santel. Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. The John and Gordy Show.
Good morning, Joe.
How you doing, guys? It's always good to note what kind of geopolitical nonsense is going on. Trump, of course, is asking the Danish Egg Association if they would ship some of their eggs to the U.S. because of the surging egg prices that we have. Trump,
Isn't that shocking? Is it?
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. 855-752-4842. Welcome back to the show. It's been one of those days. It's a great show, but it's just, people have feelings. That's great. I said yes, my long-time 37-year CBS mug broke yesterday. I think it's throwing off the balance of the force a little bit.
That and daylight savings time.
Daylight savings time is still having an effect. Lots to get to this half hour. Don't go anywhere. We will get to a phone company versus cable company edition of What's Worse. Lots of phone calls. Let's get to it. If you can make it brief, please. We're up against the clock. Let's go to Andy in beautiful Denmark. Not the country of Denmark, which is fantastic, but the city of Denmark in Wisconsin, just south of Green Bay. Andy in Denmark. What do you want to talk about, Andy?
Hi, I was wondering why it seems everybody's always pointing their finger at vaccinations, and we have a big question mark with PFAS in our drinking water, and nobody's ever pointing their finger at that.
Well, I've certainly spoken about PFAS in drinking water, and that's why we have to do more to protect our drinking water. So certainly an important issue as well, and I hope that the governor and the Republican legislature can get their act together and settle on legislation to address the PFAS in Wisconsin, but certainly important. So I appreciate you raising it. Thank you so very much. 855-752-4842. Tom in Madison on WMDX. Tom, thanks for calling in. What do you got?
Yeah, you bet. I was really shocked about the vaccination rate. So I'm driving to a gig right now, and I got on the phone and I called, Tammy Baldwin, Mark Pocan, Tom Tiffany, a couple other Republicans, and said I got this information from Civic Media, and also Mark Pocan's staffer was really surprised. She said, I did not know that. And she started writing stuff down, and she said, I will definitely forward this to Mark. And I'm just like, it took me like 10 minutes to make 5 phone calls. So I hope everybody's doing that, especially before the election, because it really matters.
But great job, Tom. That's action. That's action right there, and appreciate that. I would also encourage not just our federal elected officials, but call state elected officials too, because the statistic I gave you from Wisconsin Department of Health Services that Wisconsin is the second worst vaccination rate for measles in the country, behind only Alaska. And again, the first line of defense I think would have a better chance of passing is contacting your state senator, your state representative, and saying, look, we need to have to have laws on the books in Wisconsin, so it's not so easy to just opt out of vaccinations here in the state of Wisconsin. But great job, Tom. Appreciate you mentioning us, and I think Congressman Pocan's office is a great example of when you call in, you are listened to. 855-752-4842. Ted in beautiful Appleton, Wisconsin, home of Harry Houdini. Ted, thanks for calling in. What's say?
Yeah. Hey, Todd. Sorry about leaving before I had planes on the tarmac moving.
It's all good. You're up there at the airport in Appleton. You're doing important stuff. What do you have for us?
With draft coming up, and me being 61 and having heart issues, I was worried about this measles stuff. So I checked with my provider, and they told me to come in and get a blood test. Because I don't remember if I had the measles or if I ever had the shot. If I did, it was really young. And I'm immune. So I must have either had it or I got the vaccination way back when.
Sure.
So a simple blood test, you can find out if you're concerned about the measles and stuff. So
Well, that's great. I think that's fantastic. And you're right. I mean, it is a simple blood test, and better to be safe for sorry if you don't know your immunization record. But certainly all of us should know, and all of us be vaccinated against measles if at all possible. Appreciate your calling in, Ted. Appreciate your listenership up there in beautiful Appleton, Wisconsin, and have a great day at the airport up there.
You can also check your your immunization records online. I don't remember the website.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah.
I did not know it was online.
If you look up Wisconsin immunization records, you can find it. It's pretty easy to get to.
Right. I also want to mention before I forget again that I mentioned earlier, what can we do? One of these things that we can do right now in America, in Wisconsin, is to call our legislators like Tom has done. You can also vote. VOTE. That's what I was alluding to earlier. It starts with V, ends with E. VOTE. Vote. We have a major election coming up here 2 weeks from today on April 1st. No fooling. Two big races on the board. Supreme Court between Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel. And then you've got your DPI race, Department of Public Instruction. So also a big race there. Early voting starts today. So if, as our friend Luke Mathers likes to say, have a plan to be a voter, know what you're going to do, and maybe you say, well, I might be out of town on April 1st. Maybe you do April 1st pranks on your friends. You're going to travel around. Then make a plan to be a voter. And you could do that by starting today, early voting in person across Wisconsin. You can go to myvote.wi.gov if you're not sure if you're registered or not sure where your polling place is. Remember, early voting, usually you have to go to an appointed place or to your clerk's office. In rural areas, that might mean making an appointment to go see your rural clerk. But you can vote early. In person. Starts today. And then on Election Day proper, polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. You can register at the polls. Don't forget, in Wisconsin, you can do same-day registration. But again, if you want to find out if you're registered and do it in advance or find out where your local polling place is, go to myvote.wi.gov, myvote.wi.gov, and vote today. Be a voter. Lots of local races on the ballot, referendums as well, all very important. Be a voter. All right, it is 41 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock. Time once again for What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. And of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get with that.
Time once again for What's Worse. No prize money to give away. Nothing as far as actual prizes. But it is your chance to have your voice heard across the state of Wisconsin. Don't forget, happening very soon, we are going to have another great text to win contest. Details very, very soon forthcoming. You're not going to want to miss it. The only way you can participate is via the Civic Media app. You can download it today at your app store, Apple or Android device. Simply go to the App Store, type in Civic, C-I-V-I-C, Media. A cute little CM logo comes up. Click on that. Takes less than a minute. It is free. It is the Civic Media app. All right. Today's edition. Timely indeed. Because a lot of people from March Madness are wanting to watch all the big games. And sometimes you say, well, I don't have the larger sports package, but maybe for March Madness, I'll do it. I know other people are, sometimes spring good phone deals. But it's the companies we deal with. So today, what's worse? The phone company or the cable company? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. What's worse? Phone company or cable company? I definitely have feelings on this.
I know you do.
For long-time listeners of this show, I still do not have my Charter Spectrum wars resolved yet. I'm not going to bore you with the details, simply to say they are still ongoing. So this is not a difficult one for me. But I know for some people, it is.
They're often the same, though, the same company. Like, you can get phone
True.
and cable through Comcast, for example.
Right. But yeah, then I guess even Charter Spectrum has mobile phones now, I guess.
Yep. I think you might be able to get a landline. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's Charter Spectrum? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So you can have everything through them if you want. I wouldn't recommend
Big
it,
if.
but if you want to, sure, go ahead. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Go out to beautiful Richland Center, Richland County out there, and Whistler listening on WRCE. Whistler, phone companies or cable companies, what's worse?
I tell you what, Todd, with the situation I'm in, I get both from one company.
Really? You
So,
get all
I like being a leader. I'm balanced. But I would have to say 2 separate outlets would be worse than one.
All right. So you like it all together. You like it combined, a package deal.
Yeah.
All right.
It's right there. Right there.
Right?
But I deal with one company.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Whistler. Thanks so much. 855-752-4842. What's worse, the phone company or the cable company? 855-752-4842. Tom, listening in Florida, texts in, what's a phone company? That's a good, right? I mean, for people of a certain age, we remember when everybody had a landline. And so I think what we're talking about here more is a cell phone company or a cable company.
Like your Verizon and T-Mobile versus, I don't know, AT&T and Comcast.
Right. Because to Tom's point, I'm sure there are people out, maybe even your generation, Zombers, or a little bit younger, where it's like a lot of houses just don't have a landline anymore. Everybody has a cell phone. Did your parents have a landline yet?
Oh, yeah. I definitely made plenty of calls to my friends' houses on landlines to be like, hi, is Ben there or whatever?
Right. Yeah, my mom still has a landline. My dad and stepmom got rid of theirs. So they're kind of moving into only cellular.
I believe my parents still have a landline.
But you clearly don't call it.
Well, yeah, because I call their cell phones. I think they have some people, maybe relatives or something, who have the landline as a primary contact, so they still keep it around, but they pay like a really cheap plan because they barely use it.
Dave in New Berlin on YouTube watching says they both suck. One and the same, Todd.
I tend to agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian in Milwaukee listening to WAUK says both are just as bad. Cable is worse, though. They will only give you the best deals with a package and no opinion otherwise. No option otherwise, pardon me. Linda in Middleton listening on WMDX says, I have no trouble with my phone company, but cable is the worst. There you go. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just not even close. It's hands down. For those that weren't around or don't remember, last year, I had a bout with Spectrum over several months in which I went through 9 different cable guys. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Until I finally got one of the big managers here in Madison, and basically he gave up on me and wouldn't call me back. I won't even go into the details. It's a long story because it's internet and cable together. Now, I know I got mom set up. She's got their internet, but now she's on the YouTube TV. So a lot of people now they still have internet, but they're streaming their cable services.
We have that in my household.
Really? A lot of people have cut the cord, so to speak, on cable. What's worse, phone company or cable company? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Linda in Atkins or Linda, all right, watching on, Linda on Facebook says, TDS is the worst company I ever dealt with. I now have Spectrum. That's very specific. People have feelings on this. I knew they would.
The thing that I hate, whether it's intentional or not, cable and phone companies both lie to you constantly and then just raise the prices for no reason. And a lot of the times you can get them lowered back down, at least somewhat, by calling and hanging on the customer service line for an hour.
All right, after Mom had gotten or was already signed up for YouTube and to cancel her Spectrum, then they gave her a package. Then they said, "Oh, now we'll lower it." Well, by that time it was just like, no, forget it. So, all right, come on back. We'll wrap things up mercifully after this. You're listening to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Yeah, after the two-year introductory deal with Spectrum, 1 or 2 year, whatever it is, and then they jack your prices up by like almost double, all you got to do is call into their customer service and say, "Hey, I'm trying to cancel my account." And then they ask why, and you're like, "Oh, the price increase. It's just too much. I can't afford it. So I'm going to switch to..."
Oh, God damn. What's wrong with me?
Todd almost broke another CBS mug.
I spilled coffee everywhere and my mug again. I don't know. The full moon was last week. I don't know what's happening.
We need to burn some sage, the herb, in here.
The herb, not our boss.
Or something like that.
Utah adopted universal mail-in voting in 2013. With no
unfortunate.
widespread
in 2 years, I've never done this.
Yeah,
March
I've
6th,
never seen it
the
happen.
GOP-dominated Utah legislature approved an amended bill to end it in 2029, despite 76% of state voters supporting it. HB 300 was even more draconian just weeks ago,
I have time to grab some
requiring
paper towels.
voters to return their ballot in person so ID could be shown. Such a move would have ended the convenience voters like about mail-in voting and created a burden for rural and Native American voters who might live hours from a polling place. The Utah News-Dispatch reports that the amended bill phases out universal mail-in voting in 2029 rather than immediately. But in the interim, voters must obtain a state-issued voting ID by 2026 and provide 4 digits from that ID with signature matching as a backup. The voter ID would be free only to those proving they can't afford it. In 2029, voters can opt in to a semi-permanent 8-year vote-by-mail list.
Everything's fine now. You take the. We're not doing it. The what's worse is over. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, where it is 9 before the hour of 2 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our fine stations you're listening to. And then a sports update with our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens, weather from our great weather team. And then the fantastic Maggie Dawn with the Maggie Dawn Show every afternoon from 2 until 4, followed by Dom Selvia, Pete Schwaba, Rick Smith, and Robert Pilot with Native Roots Radio, a great lineup here at Civic Media. Zommers has saved. I don't know what's going on during the break here. The full moon was last week. I nearly lost my other CBS mug during the break. I knocked over my reusable clean canteen container that still had coffee in it, and I caught my other coffee mug before it fell off the table. What's going on, Zommers?
I don't know. 2 in a row would have been catastrophic.
I mean, in the 2.5 years we've been doing this show, I've never done that, and now nearly 2 days in a row.
Yeah, it's...
There's some bad juju
like
going
we're
on.
in a Twilight Zone or something.
Yeah, Zombers said we need to burn some sage, not our owner, the actual plant. I may start tomorrow's show by burning sage.
Or at least just throwing salt over your shoulder or something.
Or maybe bringing the actual person sage into the studio.
Hey, can you come in here and watch and make sure I don't knock everything over?
Right, just chill out. Whoo! Boy, howdy. What a day. What a day. I think today is a good day just to chill after the show.
I think so.
I think so, too. All right, let's get to a little this and that before we get out of here. See if I can not knock anything else over before the end of the show. By the way, thank you for all the calls on what's worse. Jack and Miramax says the cable company is worse, in my opinion. Dozens of channels are useless. that you ask for, whether you want them or not. I haven't had cable in years, since before COVID. Didn't even get it then. Jack and Merrimack. All right.
I do agree. I think cable companies are worse.
Me too. All right. I want to get to this quickly. This is from Axios. Articles about the renowned Native American code talkers have disappeared from some military websites, with several broken ULRs now labeled, quote, DEI, unquote. Why it matters. From 1942 to 1945, the Navajo code talkers were instrumental in every major Marine Corps operation in the Pacific theater of World War II. They were critical to securing America's victory at Iwo Jima. Driving the news, Axios identified at least 10 articles mentioning the code talkers that had disappeared from the U.S. Army and Department of Defense websites as of yesterday. The Defense Department's URLs, that's basically the line that you click on to go to the website, were amended with the letters DEI, suggesting they were removed following President Trump's executive order ending federal diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. The Internet Archives showed the deleted Army pages were live as recently as November, with many visible until February or March of this year. None are shown with error messages until Trump took office. Asked about the missing pages, Pentagon Press Secretary John Ulott replied in a statement, quote, as Secretary Hegseth has said, DEI is dead at the Department of Defense. We are pleased by the rapid compliance across the department with the directive removing DEI content from all platforms, unquote. So they don't deny it.
I also saw not only the Navajo code talkers, but I saw that, you know the plane that dropped the nuke, the Enola Gay?
Yes.
It has the word gay in it, so that page is gone too.
Correct.
It's the name of a plane that dropped a bomb.
Right. As well as, I believe, the highest military black officer in American military to ever get the one of the prestigious medals. He's also been taken off of history in America's military. According to Axios, in both world wars, the military deployed units that used indigenous American languages to secretly transmit information in pivotal battles. Choctaw soldiers confounded German troops during World War I's deadly offensive. At Utah Beach, Comanche troops created terms that didn't exist in the language. Bombers were pregnant airplanes. Tanks were turtles. And Adolf Hitler was Paso Tebu, crazy white man. Code talkers were sent to North Africa after 16% of the tribe's Iowa population enlisted during World War II. As of yesterday, the word, I'm not going to try to pronounce it. I need Robert Pilot here. MESKWAKI no longer appeared on DOD's website. The Navajo code talkers rapidly and meticulously shared hundreds of messages in the complex language, often during intense battles, making them the enemies couldn't understand them, and courage under fire. At Iwo Jima, 6 code talkers sent more than 800 messages without error. They likely saved countless American and Allied lives by using languages the U.S. government had tried for generations to eliminate. The Navajo code talkers now eliminated from Department of Defense websites and history by Donald Trump because he thinks it's woke and because he thinks it's quote unquote DEI.
What a guy.
Yeah. So on that happy note, I think it's just another reason why we have to think to ourselves, as our friend Trygve Olsen, who will be on the show tomorrow, says, if that happened to something that you cared about, how would you feel about it? We're all in this together, whether we like it or not, friends and neighbors. And we have to start treating each other that way. Thanks for being with us. Be here tomorrow. Trygve Olsen, Pat Kreitlow. Until then, whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. See you tomorrow. Nike Donuts next.
Banging on your drum, and they will hear you.
Adios, everybody.
And Steve, your point, yes, my understanding is they also eliminated the Tuskegee Airmen.
I believe so.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.